who accepted to give us a little bit a kind of a few as a pre-review, a few results of they have made by the Internet Economy Foundation a great work on the cloud, on the question of the European cloud. So he accepted to present us tonight as an exclusivity. Thank you, Clark.
Really, thank you. I think we said amuse-gueule, right, for the cloud topic. There it is. Great. Do I have a clicker? Thank you so much. That's great. First off, it's an honor to be here, and thanks to you, Marie Avril and Gunnar, for La French Tech Berlin, an amazing partnership, and thanks to your amazing team for what we've put together. Why am I here? I'm going to take us through about 10 slides because in a couple days we're releasing our second study on the cloud market, and perhaps it can inform our discussion about the cloud, but also we really see it as a key to European sovereignty. And so we thought it might be a nice way to bring some topics in to what we'll discuss. First off, I have the unfair advantage of being a native speaker, so I really appreciate being given the forum. And I should say I feel a special kinship being in the French embassy. I was born in a French startup. The year 1702, a couple of brothers from France founded Mobile, Alabama. So I'm really honored to be here, finally coming back home, if you will. And Ambassador d'Atre, where I'm from, we would say Ambassador de Latry. So yes, welcome to Alabama. Yes. So what have we done? We've done. Let me click through. We've updated our cloud study because we wanted to look at what we think is a real key or hurdle for cloud take-up and digitalization in general in Germany and France. I'll get to that. We really see cloud take-up as really the key to digitalization. A quick look back. We did a study 4 years ago about the cloud market, and I think this slide is really helpful. This pyramid is very helpful because when we say cloud, it means a whole lot of different things to different people depending on what sector you're working in. And so I think just for orientation, even on our panel when we say cloud, it's really important that everybody understands the word cloud does not necessarily always mean the same thing. At the lowest level, if you will, is the infrastructure level, which if you see most of the providers, you know them as the American hyperscalers. That's a market that's quite dominated already. One level higher, if you will, is the platform as a service market, where there's also European providers fighting for their place in the marketplace. And then, if you will, at the top, to help this pyramid just for orientation, we refer to software as a service, or all of the other sort of on-top services that are usually relying on infrastructure providers below them to help them deliver their services. But it's really helpful just for orientation because even in our discussion about cloud, we touched on all of the different aspects. Why do we talk about cloud? Because it's booming. Just here a note, it's really increasing by 1/3 per annum every year. This market is gigantic, and the hyperscalers are investing all tens of billions per year to keep up in the market. Nearly every 9th company sees it as the driver to digital transformation. Essentially, if you say, is your company going digital, you're talking about taking up cloud services. It's sort of become a euphemism for taking up cloud services. And it's an interesting thing to see how the German companies answer, why are they doing it? Why are they going? And the first answer is just to digitize the whole company. Then you get into processes and other things, but it's quite interesting to see how it cuts across all company lines and all company operations. Here's where it gets really interesting. We're really lagging. Germany is actually right around the European level for using cloud services. Interestingly and ironically, the French market, your companies are even further behind on adopting cloud services. We can maybe get into that later, but we have an answer from our study for why we think that's the case. The Lichtblick, the light at the end of the tunnel, is that the amount of SMEs using it is really growing. Of course, we had a pandemic that drove a lot of demand, but the gap is really huge. The big companies across Germany and France in general are taking up cloud services and have really jumped in with both feet. It's the SMEs, it's the KMUs that are really lagging. They're catching up, but they have a long way to go. And this is really critical for the German economy to digitize itself. Just a quick look at what are they using when we talk about the cloud services. It's also interesting, the most popular ones are a lot of what you might call public cloud services, like Dropbox or Google Mail, things that are not necessarily proprietary servers on your company's premises. But then there are also other elements of infrastructure, CRM software. It's an interesting mix, at least among the German companies. They're using a really broad swath of cloud services. I can speak even for our little foundation. I mean, we have probably 10 different cloud providers giving different little pieces of the service. Here's again where we're lagging, and we can talk about why, but we all look to the north, and once again, the Nordics are way ahead. Swedish SMEs are just almost more than double the number are using cloud. Perhaps that's something to do with the fact that they've had dark fiber and broadband for a long, long, long time, so we can talk about infrastructure issues. But in general, France and Germany, our SMEs are way behind. We have a lot of work to do. Why are German SMEs not using the cloud? Guess what? You expected it, didn't you? Fear about my company's data, proprietary data. I'm afraid it's going to be lost. I don't want it leaving my premise. I'm really fearful. Interestingly enough, on the second spot, it's uncertainty about the legal situation, which we can also talk about, because the EU, I think, and Germany are trying to do a lot to help. But in general, the legalities, fears of compliance, and fears of loss of data are really driving this. So we have a lot of stories to tell. Also, the cloud providers about security. You know, you'll notice it's become the primary marketing argument for at least the European providers, is to say your data is safe in Europe. It's really the key selling point. So why would there be fear? Well, look at how the market is divided. I mean, you saw that chart earlier about the pyramid. 2/3 of the market for infrastructure and platform as a service is in the hands of 3 American hyperscalers. So this is where we are right now. This is the structural weakness we're up against that we can talk about also on the panel. But this is just simply, unfortunately, our European providers are clumped together and not even named. They're the next. So that's where we are right now. We're rest of world. We're just a rounding error, unfortunately, in the marketplace. So a couple thoughts on how to boost demand. We have, Herr Brake, we have your answers here. At the German level, of course, promote the digitalization of SMEs. I think we're all trying to do that in a million different ways. Employees' digital skills is, of course, a key element. But here's another one. Public procurement, cloud usage in public, from public administrations. And finally, at the European cloudscape, we talked about a lot this, I'll report. The Data Act is really key because it's going to drive a lot of interoperability by forcing providers to be interoperable. We also need legal certainty with the new data agreement. European cloud infrastructure, we've talked about that a lot, Gaia X. And of course, this will come up from our discussion as well, a European seal of data sovereignty. So, not impossible things to do, but we have a lot of work to do. And thank you guys very much. Looking forward to a great discussion.